following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Handoff, Elliott plowing to the goal line. Barry, sacked by Lawrence. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Heckma Harrison, Rob Phillips, and Kyle Yeomans.
It's a Wednesday edition of Talkin Cowboys from the SWBC Mortgage Studios here at the Star in Frisco. It is the morning after a 34-17 loss at the hands of the Baltimore Ravens. The Cowboys now at 3-9 on the 2020 season, and all of our weekly routines and schedules are all sorts of messed up because we had Tuesday night football. But hey, we've got 3 days to put this one in the rearview mirror and get ready for the battle for Penei Sewell, a battle for the third overall pick going into this weekend with the Cincinnati Bengals coming to town. Kyle Yeomans alongside Isaiah Stanback, Rob Phillips, and Heckma Harrison. We're going to break things down for you as to what happened in that Ravens game. But first, I want to give a little credit where credit is due and start off with some positivity this Wednesday morning. Isaiah Stanback made a call the other day, and I just want to get this out of the way early. I'm bringing positivity, but also I just don't want to hear it all show long, so I'm just going to attack it up front, Rob and Heckma. But Isaiah came out and said 34-17 was his prediction and the final score. He used those SLR lenses to look ahead and see exactly what was going on. So, Isaiah, you've got 10 seconds to gloat starting now.
I just want to thank my support system, Kyle, Rob, P, Heck, I appreciate you guys for being here for me. Thank to my sponsor, Essilor, for making sure that I can see the future. Thank you.
Your sponsor.
it's Isaiah's sponsor now.
Personal sponsor.
Oh, my God.
Just now that we've got that out of the way, I wanted to get that out of the way. The Cowboys losing 34-17, but the point of the matter is this really anything other than what we expected? And I think that's the most frustrating part about this loss, is that it's pretty much exactly what we expected. It's one of those things where you look at it and you say, all right, Mike McCarthy, all right, Cowboys, even though you're banged up, I want to see what you've got. I want to see some sort of energy. I want to see some sort of execution, because I think that was the word of the day, Rob. But whenever you look back at this game, Mr. Phillips, how do you categorize it for the Dallas Cowboys? Because I thought it was frustrating, and I thought it was just a poor lack of execution all the way through.
Can I throw out one more positivity before we get to all the negativity?
Sure, why not?
Reggie Robinson was active, man.
Woo!
He was active. He had 3 snaps on special teams.
Special team snaps.
Woo! All right. So we got that. Okay, now on to the bad stuff. Yeah, I mean, I would say I was surprised about the run defense, and maybe we shouldn't be, but I thought they had turned a corner in terms of let's not allow 300 yards rushing in a game anymore. That was a repeat of Cleveland a few weeks back. I thought they turned a corner. Turned out that corner is like a cul-de-sac where you kind of just do a circle and you go right back to where you were. And that's where we are at 3-9. And Michael Irvin's on NFL Network this morning saying it's over. Math says it's not over, but it felt like that. Psychologically, you're down basically 2.5, 3 games to Washington with 4 to play. And if this was the game that cost them a chance at the division, it's the type of game they've had for most of the season, where you can't stop the run. You beat yourself with turnovers. You allow points off turnovers. They're up to 120 points off turnovers allowed this season. And, to me, it was just representative of a lot of the losses they had. I didn't expect it to be this bad defensively after some strides they made, but there it was. Lamar Jackson did his thing.
Heckma.
Rob, the cul-de-sac, huh, Rob?
Yeah, I thought you might like that.
No,
I had that.
I did like that.
Little roundabout.
I like that. I like that one a lot. I mean, Rob just hit it. I mean, these guys they are what we thought they were. Unfortunately, we knew Baltimore was a strong team. We knew Baltimore had all their dogs back, fresh legs, 12 days off, whatever it may be for majority of their premier players. And come to find out, it wasn't even their premier players that killed us. So, these guys are just a better team than us. I don't think any of us, I know none of us projected the Cowboys to win this game, unfortunately, but we're realists on this show. We don't say what feels good. We say what it is. And that's what it was. 34-17. I honestly thought that it should have been a larger margin. I felt like that was going to be the final score, obviously, because I guessed it. But I thought it should have been a larger margin based upon how the game flowed. Missed field goals, unacceptable. Just unacceptable. I mean, we were in position to be in the game, honestly, and that just kills your drives. Defensive, run defense, just not there. We haven't seen it all year long. I think it might have been one game where we felt somewhat good about it, and this team just lacks confidence. The one positive though, I know we said the one positive already. Andy Dalton played a heck of a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did.
Andy Dalton played a heck of a game. Andy Dalton looked like the Andy Dalton that I was boasting about as soon as he got in the game, but. He was throwing that thing around. I think he threw it to over about eight receivers in the first half. I think eight different guys. He looked confident and he was rolling. The interception, it was just a heck of a play. It happens, tip ball. But that's the one positive thing. But everything else, man, the offensive line played pretty well. Offensive line played pretty well. I mean, they didn't have any pressure with all these guys on their defensive line that they have over there in Baltimore. So there were definitely some positives, but Baltimore's just a much better team than we are.
You guys are so nice. This game was a complete embarrassment for our defense. When you go into the game, and we talked about this all week leading up to this game, knowing what the Baltimore Ravens were going to bring to the table, a running game. They had no other choice. Even if they started their backup quarterback, they had a running game that they were going to bring to the stadium. What did we do to all week scheme-wise to stop the run? We did nothing. This is the same. 294 yards is unacceptable for
it's not 300.
Stop.
I'm so sorry that they were 6 yards away from hitting that mark, but there you are, Isaiah. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to see that. And then they put up the graphic of Jalen standing there, got his arms all shaped, buttered down, and they got the number 32. I can guess that's last NFL, okay? There's only 32 teams in the league. Thank you very much. But do you have to show us like that? And then they cut right before they go to a commercial break and they show our sideline with our DB sitting there. I mean, it's embarrassing to see, but it's also embarrassing to see these guys just completely quit on themselves. Be in a position to win the game, third down, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 7, you can get off the field. And Lamar Jackson is just like, oh, you're going to give me that? Oh, I'll take those 14 yards for a first down. Thank you very much, Cowboys. And on that touchdown, guys, that Lamar Jackson, the 37-yarder, he could have hit his head on the goalpost twice. What? How do you prepare a team that goes into a game and they completely just wet the bed? There's no leadership. Come on, man. Come on, give me something.
That you mentioned, that set the tone. The 37-yard touchdown by Lamar set the tone. But what I kept thinking about was there was more than one play like that where nobody's around him. I think the Boykin touchdown as well. Mm-hmm. And what I kept thinking was in the Seattle game in week 3, everybody was just astonished by it. And like, my God, I can't believe guys are running wide open free. And it's reached a point this season where, like, you just kind of not expected, but it doesn't surprise you when it happens. These busts, whether it's the run game or the pass game, it's been all year long. Just about every game, there's been at least one of those. And I mean, it takes away everything they did. The first half, I think Baltimore was only 1 of 5 on 3rd down. Like, that's pretty good for your defense. Yeah. But when you're giving up four plays of 30 plus yards, it doesn't matter, and that's been the story all year long.
I kind of want to go into that 37-yard touchdown run because there was so much frustration with it. It looked like a Madden glitch. Like, it really did. It looked like a Madden glitch where it's just wide open spaces in between the hash marks, and Lamar Jackson takes it for 37 yards. By the way, longest touchdown run, I think, for a quarterback in Cowboys history. But you kind of compound that with the fact that you have 294 total yards, 101 of those coming from Gus Edwards. Not Mark Ingram, not J.K. Dobbins. Gus Edwards went 7 of 101. So like Rob said, exactly, it's Gus Edwards. He's on the bench of every fantasy team in the world because J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram could have potentially been out this week. That's the only reason people know who this guy is. And he goes for 101 yards against the Cowboys. But big plays continue to gash at Isaiah. Why was that the case? And why can't the Cowboys somehow stop the run? Because it looked like they could a couple weeks ago against Pittsburgh and Philly.
Well, I think I had my Essilors on last week on the show as well whenever I talked about the misdirection and how misdirection kills this defense. The Cowboys defense, especially at the second level, who that's your job, is to be able to control that aspect of the game. These guys get confused. They get dazed. They confused. Obviously, specifically, LVE and Jalen Smith. Those are the two guys that are in the game for the most part all the time. And LVE, I think he came in the post game and admitted it, that he screwed up. I mean, he was completely lost. He took a bad step. He totally consumed himself on the offensive line, with the offensive lineman, or actually in the back of his defensive line, to the point where he couldn't see. Mm-hmm. And at the corner of his eye, he saw his guy, his responsibility, a running back, go the opposite direction. So what does he do? Well, I'm going to follow him. I don't know where the ball's at, but I'm following this guy. And then he's literally running away from the ball. He realizes it is too late, and you got one of the fastest guys in the league running with the ball down the middle. This defense continues to get gashed. There's no solid answer aside from the fact that you have to point to the coaches. It's not just the coaches. Don't be bamboozled by what I'm telling you. It's not just the coaches, but it definitely starts with the coaches, and they have to instill some form of what we always talk about, culture, within this defense. And if guys are not getting it done, again, I already alluded to it. If LVE, if Jalen Smith, if these guys aren't getting it done, then go find some other dudes that are hungry that want to do it, because you did the same thing with the defensive line. You got rid of Poe, you got rid of Griffin, right? But all of a sudden now these linebackers, these are our guys. We're committed to these guys. If they're not figuring it out, fellas, make it competitive. I don't give a doggone what I'm paying you. Carson, they sure don't care what Carson Wentz is getting paid over in Philly, right? Sit his butt down, get somebody else in there that's going to compete. And that's what needs to happen on this defense, and that's the only way that they're going to find a resolution in these last 4 games.
Hey, Isaiah, we talked at halftime about that play, and I think Van Der Esch said after the game, too, he thought Lamar handed the ball off, and that's where he was going. He just read the play completely wrong. Yeah. You thought, and I think Mike McCarthy spoke to it after the game, that they were in the right play to stop it. You said at halftime you didn't really have a problem with the way they were lined up, even though they went nickel. They had I believe Darian Thompson as a safety in that situation. Yeah. So you were okay with that look, though?
I was okay with that look, but I wasn't okay with the actual call. Right, I was okay with the alignment of guys. I was okay with the personnel. But one thing you don't do, and I talked to you about it at halftime, is I was a quote unquote running quarterback. Right, I was a running quarterback, so I faced similar defenses a lot, and teams had to scheme against me, had to scheme against other guys. Right, that had those same kind of assets in terms of the ability to run. And what happens is they went man to man, and when you go man to man against a quarterback who can gash you with that kind of speed, you have to have 2 guys spying. You cannot spy a running quarterback, a quarterback that has 4.3 speed like Lamar Jackson, okay? You can't spy him with one person. The reason why, because the first person is never going to make the play on him. Never. All right, hardly ever will the one guy to make the play on him. So what do you have to do? You have to spy with 2 guys, and you have to trust that the rest of the guys on your defense and your secondary can guard the rest of their receivers and tight ends or running backs. And you just have to trust that. But the moment that you say one guy, I don't care if it's Thompson, I don't care if it's LVE, whoever it is, the moment that you say, you know what, he has Lamar, you're kidding yourself. You're completely kidding yourself, and you saw that happen right there.
Yeah, I have a problem with that. I have a problem when you go man in a situation like that, knowing that Lamar Jackson wants to tuck and run it. And if you're going to have Darian Thompson up at the line of scrimmage or in a linebacker set, at least give him an opportunity, give himself an opportunity to make a play on the ball. This guy doesn't know. When he is in that position, it is a fatal flaw for our defense because he can't jam. He can't do anything as far as stopping offensive linemen from getting on him and pushing him out of the way. And obviously, LVE, when he makes that many false steps, there's no way that he can recover from that, whether it's defensive linemen in his face or not. But you talk about the miscommunication on the backside for the defense. Just look no further than the Miles Boykin 38-yard touchdown. Are we in zone? Are we in man? What are we in? Because a guy should not be able to go across the backside of your defense that easily untouched. And there are no Cowboys even in the vicinity to stop it. So, I mean, defensively, man, we're lost all over the place. And I don't understand it's enough to keep talking about scheme, but I just don't understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish on defense.
Mike McCarthy said after the game, heck, like we're past talking about scheme. You know,
I don't blame him.
You know, and I mean, he wasn't taking a shot at the players, but he didn't. That question was about, you know, where are you with your scheme this late in the season? And he's right. Like, you can't talk about, oh, we didn't have an off season when it's 2 weeks to Christmas.
Yep.
I mean, it's too late for that.
How does that still make sense, though? Like, I mean, that's the thing is why is there still these kinds of lapses of breakdowns? And I know, Isaiah, you said you don't want to blame it on the coaching staff. Ultimately, it comes down to the players, but there's got to be a little bit for the coaching staff of that blame to be placed on them, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, nobody is exempt from fault here. The guys that call the plays, the guys that run the plays. At some point in time, you have to go out there and take over, no matter what position you're playing in this organization. And we're not seeing any of it. We're not seeing much ownership. I mean, I think LBE stepped up and obviously took some ownership there. But the guys it's not good. We can talk about it until we're blue in the face. It's just not good. The defensive coordinator doesn't need to be here. I'm sorry. I'm not one to call for a man's job, but this is not it. You know, maybe there's a reason why he wasn't on a coaching staff. This scheme is not working. He's made alterations to the scheme, with personnel changes. Guess what? It's still not working. And you can look at the players and say, yeah, they need to be better, but guess what? Whose job is it to ensure that they're better? Is your job. So, somebody has to make some moves, whether it's players or coaches. But there's going to be some moving of the chairs. I can almost guarantee that following this season.
There's going to be a lot of changes with the personnel. I mean, you've got a lot of free agents in the secondary, and you can't rebuild entirely through the draft this year. No. But there's going to be a lot of changes on defense. There's no question about it. And, the other thing, too, is, and Jerry was asked about this on the Fan yesterday morning, about, two teams in your division that are leading the division right now, Washington and New York, have new coaching staffs. And he said it's fair to compare. Those teams are being led by their defenses. So at this point, you ought to be talking about progress, even though I think personnel-wise, they don't have the personnel, certainly that Washington does, but you should be talking about progress. And we were for a couple weeks, but it was like they took 5 steps back last night.
It's just there's a lot to go to whenever it comes to that defense. I mean, you could talk about the secondary. You could talk about the front seven. Honestly, I thought we saw a defensive tackle worse than Dontari Poe for the first time all year, and he was wearing his number. And I want to talk about that when we come back on the other side of the break when we return on Talkin Cowboys.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Varilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
Since 1865, Stetson hats are American-made with pride right here in Texas. And Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Want to show your Texas and team pride too? You can. By purchasing your own Stetson, you can look just like how the flag guys do on field at every home game. Stetson hats, the official crown of all self-respecting Cowboys. and your favorite football team.
Get yours today at shop.dallascowboys.com or at stetson.com.
I'm Jay Novacek, former tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Back in the day, I was the guy who always got the tough yards, and that's why I run with John Deere today. In fact, I have a John Deere 3025E tractor that can handle any yard work I need to do, even the tough yards way out back. So if you have 1 acre or 1,000, John Deere has the equipment that's just right for you. Visit a John Deere dealer today and run with us. We are the official tractor provider of your Dallas Cowboys.
Dear, it's 1908. Don't you think we should get electricity?
And stop using candles to see at night.
It's just electricity lights up the room fast. It's more reliable than candles blowing out, and people seem to love it nationwide.
Well, candles are...
Dear, did you just run into the wall?
Nope. May I have a new candle, please?
Historically, switching to new technology is a no-brainer. Today, it's AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure, and nationwide. Switch to AT&T 5G. It's not complicated. 5G requires compatible plan. May not be in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Second segment here of Talking Cowboys, the Wednesday after a Cowboys 34-17 loss to the Baltimore Ravens. And whether you're listening to Talking Cowboys while you work, watching highlights, or even, I say highlights, more like lowlights, or trading fantasy draft players, Bose Quiet Comfort earbuds let you experience audio in a brand new way. Bose Quiet Comfort earbuds are the official earbuds of the Dallas Cowboys. I threw a changeup at you, a little curveball at you, Isaiah.
Yeah!
You got to listen. You gotta listen. You said what?
Well, I don't have Bose's on, so that's probably why I don't have them on. I'm waiting on my shipment to come through. Maybe I'll get the quiet comforts and I can hear a little better.
I saw a package in the mail the other day that was a Bose package up here, so I don't know. Maybe they are coming your direction.
Never know. Maybe.
I mentioned this.
They're jealous of Essilor.
Yeah, they're jealous. They're trying to get on that Isaiah Standback sponsorship. So yesterday was the second time that a NFL team has rushed for over 290 yards this season. Out of the 200 games that have been played in the NFL, it's only happened twice. Would anybody like to take just go out on a limb here and talk about who the defense was in both of those games? Oh, wait. It's the Dallas Cowboys. The 307 yards against Cleveland in Week 4, 294 on Wednesday against the Baltimore Ravens. That's where we stand in terms of the rush defense. And at first, it was the defensive struggles.
Is it fair to say that we got better?
Oh man,
silver linings. I like it.
Hey,
would I be false in my statement
yards
if I
less,
said that
right?
Our defense got better?
Oh man,
I mean, just saying.
6, but. Well, yeah, 6 to 300.
Okay, well, jokingly, I know you're saying that jokingly, but I do want to ask this question, Isaiah, and I'll start with you on this since you're so eager to talk about it. But were the Cowboys' defense better against teams like Philly or Pittsburgh, or did Pittsburgh just not want to run the ball, and is Philly just downright terrible, and they gave us a sense of false hope before you get gashed by Minnesota, and then you get gashed by Washington, and then again last night by Baltimore?
Yeah, Philly's just not a good team, and Pittsburgh is no longer a running team, nor did they show up to play that day. So there's your two answers.
Well, there it is. Pittsburgh just isn't running, period. I mean, and you saw that in their loss to the football team. They can't run the ball. I think they finished that game with like 20, 30 yards rushing. And Philly is just a dumpster fire in the NFC East, just like us. So that's just what it is. Defensively, man, we don't have it. I mean, when a guy like Gus Edwards, who no one had on the radar to do what he did. And Isaiah made a point before the show about the Cleveland game, and it was their third string running back that gashed us as well. And so it seems like we make you better. We are the RX. We are the RX. If you have a problem, Yes, it is. And so we're like elf on the shelf for your running game. If you want it, you need it, we can give it to you. I think we talked about Baltimore coming into this game and all the problems that they were having on offense. Roman and what he's trying to change what Lamar Jackson does. And you saw in this game, Lamar Jackson really needs to work on his mechanics because a lot of those balls sailed on him in that one throw. And I think even Xavier Woods didn't even know how to attack it, which was one of the most awkward safety closings that I've seen in a while. But I just think that defensively, you knew that this running game was going to present a challenge, and they just kept doing. They stayed true to it. I think Lamar Jackson finished with 101 yards passing. So those are the kind of statistics that we're going to get versus teams next week when we go to Cincinnati. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to load up. They're going to run that thing. Why would you have any other game plan versus the Dallas Cowboys?
I just Googled the slogan, "We make you better," to see if I thought maybe a company had that as their title slogan, and I couldn't find it. But
so we can trademark it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's trademarked by some elevator company. So, unfortunately, anyway, the run defense, I think you guys are right. Looking back, maybe it was fool's gold. But I did think in those games they were better just alignment-wise, assignment-wise, because, some of the runs that the Ravens had last night, nothing special. They just didn't diagnose it right. They didn't make the play. I think it was the drive after Lamar's big touchdown early. It was Gus Edwards for 36 yards, and it was just kind of what we saw early in the season where, off D-line just getting pushed out of the way. And creating a crease, and that's all it was. Just kind of simple, and so they reverted back to that.
Robbie, am I the only one that thinks that we ran the ball well with Zeke last night?
Yeah, I thought so. I thought he ran really good early.
Moore just took it out of his hands, right?
Yeah, he kind of went to Pollard after that, which surprised me. I give Kellen credit for trying to stick to the run. He went past a couple times where I thought, okay, just stick with it. But that's funny you brought that up, Isaiah, because I was going to say that at the top of the show. The Cowboys' plan offensively was to shorten the game and try to, help the defense, keep the defense off the field. And for large stretches, they were able to do that. They were able to move the ball. I forget what the time of possession was. They won the time of possession. I don't know if they've won
one time. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if they've won time of possession all year long. Maybe a couple times. But that game plan doesn't work when your defense can't stop anything in the run game, and that's the story of the game, story of the season for a lot of these games.
Now, go for it, Heckma.
No, it's pedestrian, and we got to the point in trying to run the ball, and I talked about it. Just some of the weird calls that Kellen was making. He came into this, and I thought that it was really vanilla. He didn't get into anything weird, but towards the end of the game, we just became predictable, and that's what happens when you get down by that many points. But I thought that Zeke was giving us a lot in the running game, but they tried to do the thunder and lightning tandem of those two, and I didn't blame him for that. I just think that once Zeke starts to get on the roll and he has a hot hand, stay with him. Don't stop. Keep getting him that, because statistics show that once he has those carries and he gets over 100 yards, the Cowboys typically win. And so, look, you said it too, Isaiah, that Tony Pollard had to have a good game, and for a lot of those stretches, he was getting us some chunk yardage. But Tony Pollard is that kind of running back where he'll go -2, -3, and then get you 7. So we just were not in a position last night to have that kind of flow. The defense disrupt our flow that way, and it happened a lot to us where we were behind. It's 3rd and 15 and penalties that just took us out of any kind of rhythm offensively.
Yeah, you're right. But Zeke was getting 4.3 yards per carry.
Yep.
4.3 yards per carry by your $90 million man, and you take it out of his hands.
Why?
I wouldn't be surprised.
You know what? And there was a play in this. Go ahead, Kyle.
I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys if Ezekiel Elliott shows up on the Cowboys injury report this week with maybe like a nagging thing, something that kept him out for just a bit of time. It's easier to hide that kind of thing in COVID-19 whenever you don't have as many media personnel around the field and watching every single movement, especially when they're on the road. So I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if something comes out there, but that's really kind of also just me looking for an explanation, Rob.
Well, I think Heck said it. I mean, they tried kind of the thunder and lightning thing. They've been wanting to get Tony more involved. Mm-hmm. His biggest play was the kickoff return. That was a great kickoff return. But he only got 2.8 yards of carry. And there was one play in the second half, I forget which drive, where he hesitated to hit the hole. And I think he got hit for a loss, and they brought Zeke right in. So Zeke, that was one of Zeke's best, the rhythm, the way he was running. It was good.
He was running hard.
Yeah, he did. And the problem was they weren't able to set that up with any chunk plays in the passing game. Mm-hmm. I don't think they got an explosive pass play till late in the game. For a long stretch, it was Dalton Schultz for like 15 yards.
Yep.
So, some of that was probably trying to get the ball out quick to protect the offensive line, but they just never really made them pay. And when you miss, when you only can settle for 3 field goals and you miss them all, you're really putting stress on your defense, and they were not going to bail you out last night.
Just the pity laugh from Heckma Harrison. I love it. Let's go ahead and take our second break. Let's take our second break before we talk about whether or not Mike McCarthy is the right man for the Dallas Cowboys. I want to ask that question when we return on the other side of the break here on Talkin Cowboys.
We're back with a tasty treat that's sweeping airwaves and taste buds. It's new Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda's here. A new combo that's music to my ears, okay. Let's play. Cream Soda and Dr. Pepper time. Pour it in a glass of ice.
Music to my ears and mouth. New Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda.
A delicious duet.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Verilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Dear, it's 1908. Don't you think we should get electricity?
And stop using candles to see at night.
It's just electricity lights up the room fast. It's more reliable than candles blowing out, and people seem to love it nationwide.
Well, candles are...
Dear, did you just run into the wall?
Nope. May I have a new candle, please?
Historically, switching to new technology is a no-brainer. Today, it's AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure, and nationwide. Switch to AT&T 5G. It's not complicated. 5G requires compatible plan. May not be in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Whether you're watching from home or cheering in the stands with Essilor lenses, you'll see every exciting play. Isaiah doesn't stop talking, but we'll book an appointment at your local Essilor experts and see what Essilor can do for you. See more, do more, Essilor. Man, Isaiah, do you not know what standby stands for? Do you not hear?
I don't. Let's not talk about that word this year.
Okay.
Let's not use that word this year.
Okay, I just want to know. Because, I mean, like the
you gotta say stand back.
Yeah, stand back, stand by. I mean, I know it's close.
If we say stand back, let's not use stand by.
No, stand by.
Stand by. Yeah,
that's fair.
Oh,
now I know what reference you're going to. Now I know what that is. Oh man, that came out of left field. Oh wow. All right. Well, we've got about 8 minutes to push past that comment and continue on here on Talkin Cowboys. Glad you're with us, Isaiah Stanback, Rob Phillips, Heckma Harrison. I'm Kyle Yeomans, and Mike McCarthy, I was asked this morning on The Fan, and I think it's an interesting question because I think so. A couple others in the media, national media, have said so. Jimmy Johnson was the most recent to say it. But is Mike McCarthy the right man for the job for the Dallas Cowboys? Because right now we're sitting at week 14 of the NFL season. He is 3-9 as a head coach. It's a losing season for the Cowboys. The Cowboys not really in the spot right now anyways to win the division because of the recent wins from New York and from Washington. But also, if you want to go all the way back to October of 2017, since Mike McCarthy defeated the Cowboys in October 2017, he is 7-21 as a head coach. So it hasn't been good for Mike lately. But Heckman, we'll start with you on this one. Do you still think Mike McCarthy's the right man for the job, and does he have the right staff around him as well?
I may not agree with the staff, but I agree that Mike is, and I just feel as though he's in a very peculiar situation. When you look at what he has to deal with the cap, the decisions that he has to make, whether he's to re-sign Dak, the guys that are making buku money on this roster, and how to maneuver and get out of some of that. I mean, I think he really has to look at the totality of this and see how he can make this roster better. He's going to be limited. He's going to be limited in that, especially with some of the wrong guys getting paid. But I just feel as though it's going to be the job that he's going to have to do to get that under wraps and get the talent that we need on this roster. It's going to be a scientific job by this coach. And so if his past is any indicator of future performance, let's just hope that he's past that 7-22 or whatever the record that you just said, because he's going to need to conjure up something, because the other teams in your division, the football team and New York, based off of their salary cap, they're going to be a lot better than what they are right now, because they're going to have the money to pay players. And so maybe Philadelphia is not in that situation because of where they are with Carson Wentz, but Dallas is in a real tricky situation right now.
You said they're in a deal pickle?
Yeah, it's a pickle.
I wish I can comment on this with a full head of confidence. The reason why I can't is because I haven't been able to see practice. I haven't been able to see how he coaches in practice. I haven't been able to see his facial expressions, read his lips. I haven't been able to see any of that stuff. All I can see is the decisions that he allows to happen. He's allowed bad coaching decisions this year. He's allowed bad schemes defensively. He's allowed bad offensive calls early on in the season, specifically in the first half of the season. He's allowed bad special teams calls to get pushed through or pass him all the way to the field. So based upon those things that I can see, I don't believe that he's the right person for this job right now. But again, I don't know how he coaches. I haven't been able to witness that personally to be able to get my full scope. But based upon the things that I've seen this year, performance-wise, it doesn't appear like it. There hasn't been a culture change. Things haven't gotten better in any regard, I don't feel. I think I know Raul alluded to the defense getting a little bit better there for a second, but in terms of overall overarching effort, overarching efficiency, overarching wins, we haven't seen any of that. We haven't seen any seismic change in that, nor our expectation levels this season. So as of right now, based upon that information, the answer is no.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like it's such a weird year in that it's really hard to get a feel for like the culture that he's brought in with the player, because you're not around the players, even in kind of a casual setting to talk more about stuff like that. You're just on these calls. And I mean, I said this during the bye week, I think, when we were all doing different shows. Like I think we're going to have a much better idea by mid-season 2021 where they're at, because I'm willing to give. I've said this over and over again. It's got to be somewhat of a mulligan here. I know that sounds probably like an excuse, but I mean the bottom line is look, the offense is going to should be miles better next year when you get some healthy guys back. And run it back. Defensively, they've got to figure something out. Yep. Whether it's scheme, it's a combination of scheme and personnel. They're going to have changes there. And I don't know if Mike's staff will come back fully intact. We'll see. But I think on at least one side of the ball, I think you come back next year and you feel much better about the situation with Dak healthy and all that. Defensively, though, they've got to find a way to make more plays and just make sound plays, make just plays that don't lose you games. If they can find a way to do that and have a better offense, they're going to be much more competitive this year. Regardless of talking about fit with Mike and all that, I just think they'll have better players. So that's a start.
And you mentioned earlier there is going to be personnel changes, and I agree with you in that standpoint. But with what you're saying there, is Mike Nolan still kind of on the hot seat here over the last 4 weeks of the season if this defense doesn't see some kind of improvement?
I don't know that. I mean, I know Mike has been very, not defensive, but been a staunch defender of his all year long. Mm-hmm. I think they feel pretty good about what they've done scheme wise and trying to tail things back when they feel like it was. I think 2 weeks in they said we scaled back, But I think ultimately when you have to look at it and say it's never just one thing. I mean, what is causing players not to succeed in what you're trying to ask them to do? I mean, that's the coach's job. So they've got to evaluate that heavily in the offseason and figure out what's, beyond personnel, why can't we? Because, there's defenses out there that, I'm thinking back to Bill Parcells' first year that I covered in 2003. It wasn't like a super talented team, but they just kind of did their job and won games ugly. And I think that's kind of what we thought this team could do without Dak, at least some games, and they just haven't played winning football nearly enough.
Sorry, are you staying with the coaching staff, Rob, or no?
Well, I don't know that it's certain that they're going to make like coordinator changes because I just think he hasn't sounded like some guy that's really questioning the scheme side of it. But I think they have to look at that and say, what's causing guys not to have success, because they do have some talent on that side of the ball. Especially up front, they've got guys who can make plays.
Isaiah, are you?
You can make every.
No, I already said based upon what I see right now in McCarthy and what he's allowed. I don't believe that he's the right guy right now. So unless I'm able to see other things, like I mentioned already, behind the scenes stuff, practice, I don't know how he facilitates practice, any of those things. So I can't make a full statement. But based upon the information I have, the things that he's allowed, I'm not a believer.
Ekma?
No, I don't know how. Looking at, let's just start from the defensive side. These guys are teachers, and this is, film study, everything. They're teaching the scheme and what they expect from this team, from their players and personnel, and they get out there and they cannot execute it. And guys all the way up into this week seem to not know where they need to be position-wise on the field. They've gone through all of the looks and this situational awareness all the time that's being taught. But how does that not get conveyed to the field is what I'm seeing. And so I don't know if like P said, let's give them a mulligan for this season. I'm okay with that. But when you get into 2021, if we see any of these same things start to happen, it's X-nay. You got to go. It's how much longer is this rope? And we can blame 2020. We could say all that, but at some point, your fan base and everybody around is not going to accept that, right? You cannot continue to accept that, whether it's the guys, the personnel scheme, whatever it is, it's not being conveyed. And Bones Fossil is probably one guy that definitely should be looked at immediately to find out what's going on with special teams.
And I think that's something that the Cowboys will have to address this offseason or even the last 4 games of the year. This is evaluation time not only for the players but for the coaching staff. Who is going to be here in 2021 to quote-unquote run it back? That's what the decision-making is going to come down to, is what we've seen so far and what we're going to see the next 4 weeks of the season. There was plenty of frustration around the special teams. We're going to hit that tomorrow. Don't worry. We're going to talk about the 3 missed kicks, some of the special teams, the hit and misses from Bones Fossil in that unit of the Dallas Cowboys. But that's going to do it for us here today on Talkin Cowboys. Tomorrow we'll also preview the Cincinnati offense and the Dallas defense. Can the Cowboys not give up 300 yards of rushing? Of course, like Isaiah said, they didn't give up 300 yards of rushing. How about that? We got it underneath 300. Thank goodness. Oh, wow. 294. Frustrating week after the 34-17 loss to the Baltimore Ravens. But for Rob Phillips, for Ekma Harrison, Isaiah Stanback, and the great Chris Beam, as always, doing work in the back, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from the Star in Frisco. We'll see you tomorrow on Talkin Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!